people in your group. I'm not going to be sharing any screen. There is no need to design slides for these kinds of discussion. I'm just going to go over a couple of talk points and weave in some of the stories I have and how it relates to my experience and some of the things I've also encountered being a lecturer here and what I think academics look out for in PhD students. So there's not going to be slides. There's just going to be discussions and stories. And at the end, I hope you'll have questions to ask because that's going to help me figure out how best to help you and directly answer the questions that would be significant to everyone on the webinar. So once again, I'm Dr. Sofiat Olaosebikan. I'm a lecturer in computing science here at the University of Glasgow. And I just recently also finished my PhD in computing science. I got my award letter sometimes in July this year, and I started my job as a lecturer in August. So it's all quite new for me, and I think I'm better placed to give advice on some of these things because I'm a freshly inducted lecturer and I just finished a PhD. So loads of those experiences are still kind of fresh for me. But first, before I start, the talk for today is on preparing a strong PhD application. And I'm just saying that out loud to make sure that everyone here is here for that same reason, so that expectations are met and no one is disappointed. So preparing a strong PhD application. And before I start, I'd like to say a couple of things because I finished my PhD in the UK, and I want to believe that if you are applying for a PhD, say in the United States, for instance, or in Canada, then some of the things I'm going to be saying may or may not apply. Very largely they will, but for example, in the United States, PhD students are expected to write GRE and some of these exams, which is not required in the UK. I'm not sure what the state of things are in Canada, but in the UK, you just need to apply, submit an application without having to write any exams. Some universities even require IELTS or TOEFL, but some do not if you can prove that English is your language of instruction back in your university. So I am going to be speaking very largely based on my own experience as a PhD student here in the UK and the things I did when I applied and the things I think would put you on a good foot while preparing your application for a PhD. So I hope that helps as a front runner. So next thing I'm going to say is if you are thinking of applying for a PhD, say next year, you should start preparing now. It's never too early, rather too early than too late, because the process of applying for a PhD takes time, especially if you want to prepare a very good application. So have a plan that, okay, I'm interested in applying for a PhD, say in 2022, then I better start preparing my application now. But I guess everyone is probably in a different position. And this could mean different things for different people. But just in case there's somebody here that is listening, that is thinking of applying in, say, 2 or 3 years' time, the earlier, the better. Yeah, so a couple of talk points that I think would be relevant for you if you're thinking of applying. First things first, and this was part of what I added in my article on LinkedIn. I'm not sure if some of you read it, but I'm sure Sapong definitely did, is ask yourself very genuinely, why do you want to do a PhD? This can sound like a very easy question to answer, but trust me, the answer is going to save you a lot of stress during the PhD itself. I can confidently tell you from experience that applying for a PhD is nothing compared to doing the PhD itself. I mean, it's a 4-year journey. For example, here in the UK, I finished mine in 42 months. That's 3.5 years. The maximum in the UK is 4 years. And in the US, it could be up to 6-7 years, depending on the program you're enrolled on. So it's a challenging and time-consuming process, doing a PhD in its own right. And the reason you start doing it is what's going to get you through all of the hard times that you will face during the PhD. So before you even start looking, ask yourself, why do I want to do a PhD? Do you have a good justification? If the answer is not coming to you, sit with friends that you think can help. Try to reason through that and make sure that your reasons are good enough. Because if they are not, I have seen so many people that rush in and rush out. And there's no point wasting 1 or 2 years starting and then realizing you made a mistake. For many people, they say, well, I need the money, I need a better career option. But you really don't have to do a PhD to get more money. I mean, as a master's student or undergrad, if you're good at programming, you can work for Google as a software engineer and you make money even better than some academics. If you're looking for a better career options, you can always take extra skills to pad your, you know, first degree or whatever it is, and data science is raining now and lots of other stuff that you can do. So my reason for saying this is not to send you away or running from wanting to do a PhD. My reason for doing this is to make you realize that having a good justification for wanting to do a PhD should come first. That should be your foundation for preparing your application, because of all the challenges you face, the reason is what you fall back on that will get you through the journey. So you want to do a PhD and you're fully convinced that you want to do it for the right reasons. For example, for me, let me use mine as an example. A year before I even applied, I mean, I didn't even know I wanted to do a PhD. I just knew I enjoyed research in general. I love programming and I'm good at maths and I enjoy some algorithmic stuff. And I just thought, I did my master thesis. I graduated from Ibadan in Nigeria. I did maths. And then my master's was from Ames, Ghana. And I did my master thesis. I designed a software that so many scientists and researchers found useful. And for me, it was just the joy of doing something that I'm good at and then producing something that other people could use for their research or whatever it is. It was really tough, but I enjoyed the whole process. And I just told myself, I want to do more of this. I want to do more of this. I'm not sure if my internet is still transmitting, but I think I've lost connection somewhere.
And I think it's quite okay. It's
Okay,
really not.
I lost the connection. I don't know. I think it's frozen or something. Maybe I turn off my video to make sure things are still going smoothly. Anyway, thanks for confirming you can still hear me. So why do you want to do a PhD? You are convinced with that. Then the next thing you want to do is make sure that you have a passion for the subject area. You don't just decide you want to do a PhD for the sake of PhD. You want to do a PhD in a particular area, right? So what's the subject area? For me, my subject area is computing and math, and I'm passionate about it. And I spend, days and hours just trying to solve a problem, just for the fun of it. And that's something you want to stick with. Find a subject area that you can spend hours or days trying to figure out, a solution to a particular problem. What's that subject area for you? You have to have a good passion for that area, and that's something that is also going to help you in your process of developing your PhD application. So having passion for the subject area and having a strong motivation for research, these two things are very important, not just for you but also the selection panel. So we recently refurbished the qualities that we look for in a PhD student in my own school of computing science here at the University of Glasgow. And I am telling you some of the things that were listed, in the eligibility criteria. And one of them was good motivation for research and passion for subject area. So the selection panel are also looking for this in your application. Now, how can you convince someone that you are good at something if you can't convince yourself that you're good at it? That's the first question. So you need to make sure that the area you want to, work on for your research is an area that you are really passionate about. And by passion, I mean, you have so many evidence of things that maybe you've done or courses that you've taken, not necessarily research per se. The process of doing a PhD is to learn, to do the research, to learn how to do the research. So they are not expecting you to have a massive list of publications. They are just looking for evidence of things that you've done in that subject area that actually shows that you are passionate about the area. And I'll give you some examples for me. So for example, like I told you, my first degree was in maths, and I didn't do any computing back in my university in Nigeria, and I wanted to do a PhD in computing science. How can I convince these people that I'm the right person to select for this admission? I'm funding as well. So for me, it was the passion. Like I told you, the PhD application did not precede the things I did to get the PhD. It was all about the things I find interesting. So I took online courses on Coursera. I took courses on, algorithms, on graphs, data structures, complexity, those things that I was always drawn to because I found them interesting. I took lots of courses. I did implementations of algorithms. Some of them I put on my GitHub profile. Some of them, I stack somewhere. Whatever I do, I try to put out there and, reach out to people, talk to people that I know can help. And all of those added up when it got to the point for me to apply for the PhD. So those things are some of the things that you also want to consider in your subject area. What are the things that you can do to show your passion for the PhD you want to apply for, and your motivation for research as well? So you need to have those three things I listed. Why you want to do a PhD, check. Passion for subject area, check. Strong motivation for research, check. And if you have all those three, then you should start looking. You should start looking out for opportunities. For instance, there are some PhD that comes with project and funding embedded, and there are some PhD that you have to go to the supervisor physically to apply, to talk to them, to want to work with them. So the next thing now for you to do is to find a supervisor whose research interest aligns with yours. And like I said, from here, there are two options. For some people, it could be that they find a project that, for an open project for a PhD. So you see some PhD positions that are open projects, like, so this is the project, this is what we want you to do, and there's funding for this PhD, and these are the eligibility criteria. For me, that was not the route I took. So I didn't find an open project to do my PhD. I physically applied or reached out to the supervisor and told them that, their research, I find it very interesting. The supervisor is working in the area of algorithms. Specifically, they are using algorithms to design, they are using maths and computing to design algorithms that the NHS in the UK is using to allocate kidneys to transplant patients. And I thought that's very cool. I mean, imagine picking a very interesting real world problem and then modeling it as a graph problem, as a mathematics problem, and then using techniques and tools in maths to solve that, and then modeling it back to the real world problem and applying it. And then what you're actually doing in theory actually has a real application in practice. That was just fun for me, and it embedded all of those things I was passionate about, computing, programming, graph theory, algorithms, maths. It was just amazing, and I thought, oh, I want to work with this guy. So you need to go online on the supervisor site if you know who that is. I think the hard part from figuring out you want to do it and then finding someone to work with is how to actually find the person in the first place. So if I finish my discussion and there's anyone that has questions pertaining to that, I'm happy to answer. So you need to find a supervisor whose research interests align with yours. Go through their page, their research portfolio, check out, the research they've been doing. And in some cases, when you get on this website, it's possible that the research is not necessarily going to fit you. Don't force it. Move on, find the next person. You're going to be working with this person for 4 years. You don't want to be stuck with somebody that is doing something that you're not passionate about. So go through their research portfolio, some of the papers they have, go through it, make a list of open problems. Make a list of open problems that you would like to, maybe that you have ideas on how to solve, or maybe just problems that you see that these are the techniques that you want to develop. You don't have to know everything, but you need to have something. You can't just go to a supervisor with nothing and saying, hi, professor, I'd like to do a PhD with you. This is who I am. You know, let's get started. No, they want to see some level of commitment from you. So you need to have done your assignment. So go through their page and figure out how, you want to develop the email, draft the email to them that will make them want to respond to you. So go through their research portfolio, come up with some problems or maybe things that figure out ways that you think this person is the right person for you. and how you think working together would be good for your career and not just for them. So come up with those and then reach out to the supervisor, because if you don't have supervisors agreeing to want to supervise you, mostly in the UK, you are not, your chances of getting a PhD is quite low, almost very close to zero. To apply for a PhD in the UK, especially my university, at least I'm sure of, having the yes from a supervisor is very important, because that's the person they will link your application with. Because research student works with supervisor. You don't work alone. So if you don't have a potential supervisor that is willing to work with you, it's going to be hard for them to give you a PhD. So you need to have somebody that you've looked through their site, drafted an email, add your CV, add the list of things that you think would get them to actually want to reply your email, and then do that, and then propose that they give you a time to talk to them, hopefully maybe over a virtual meeting. For me, I spoke with my supervisor over Skype, and I had a list of things I listed on, from his research papers and his website, and more than half of those things I didn't even do in my PhD. But it just showed him that you've done your assignment, you have the right attitude towards research, and you are potentially someone that they can take a chance on. Yeah. So do that, reach out to the supervisor, schedule a meeting with them, and then see where that goes. First impression matters. Do your assignment before you also go on the meeting, if you're able to get a meeting with them, and make sure that you ask all the relevant questions. It's not a one-way thing during a meeting with a supervisor, because all the things you are gathering during the meeting is going to help you prepare your research proposal. It's going to help you with your PhD application. The supervisor is your one unique link into getting the PhD. You have to make a good impression. In fact, if you make a good impression on the supervisor, I can say that at least maybe 30% or 40% chance that you get a PhD, because they are the ones that will, speak on your behalf at the university level, at the selection level. So you need to make sure that you make a good impression and ask good questions. Like, for instance, um, funding opportunities or research projects or potential for work doing research with them, or how many PhD students have they supervised, and where are the PhD students now, what are they doing, things like that. It's important to make sure that you are working with somebody that is going to be invested in your career and is ready and willing to help you learn and grow. So it's not a two-way street when you're talking to a supervisor. It's not just you making them accept you to supervise you. It's also you listening to them and making sure that they're a good person. It can be funny because, yeah, sometimes we are desperate and we need a PhD, and then we are just like, whoever takes me, I'm just gonna go. No, you don't want to get stuck with somebody that is going to make you regret you decided to do a PhD in the first place. Please take note of that. That's very important, because I've seen so many people drop the PhD because they are working with the wrong person. You don't want that to be you. So make sure that you talk to the supervisor, ask the right questions, and then make the right impression. And from there, the next thing you have to do, if the supervisor agrees to work with you, in fact, the supervisor is going to tell you that the next thing you have to do now is prepare a research proposal. And then they are going to ask you, do you have funding or not? Because doing a PhD in the United Kingdom is expensive. I mean, in European countries and, in the Western world, it's quite expensive. For example, University of Glasgow charges up to £23,000 every year for a PhD student. That's a lot of money. So unless you have your funding to come in, and I can say perhaps if you have your funding, getting a PhD could also be a bit easier, because you're coming with your money and they want your money. So they'll probably give you a PhD even if you're not half as good. But if you want scholarships from the university, oh, you have to even put in extra work. If you want the scholarship and the admission, you have to put in extra work. And one of them is preparing your research proposal. Writing a very good research proposal. The supervisor is going to help you with this. And for me, when I was writing mine, I mean, it took me up to 6 weeks from when I started writing my research proposal, constantly reaching back to the supervisor and also reaching out to the students that the supervisor works with. So this is something that so many people also don't think of. You know, trying to reach out to the PhD students, working with the potential supervisor is one of the amazing ways for you to prepare a good PhD application, because they are the students, working with the person. They know about the university, about the student life, about things that you should do. So they'll probably have so many advice for you in terms of preparing your research proposal and additional things that you should consider. So prepare the research proposal, and I'm sure I don't have to stress this enough. You need good recommendations. You need good recommendations for a PhD in addition to your research proposal. And it also helps to have a good first degree or master's. Not in all cases do you need a master's to do a PhD. I've seen so many people, start a PhD directly from undergrad, but this is very rare coming from Africa. And I know many of us here are Africans. It's very rare. We have to maybe do a master's first and then get our, pace right. But for here in the UK, many of the students from level 4 undergrad, they move directly to a PhD. And it's not impossible as well coming from Africa. I mean, if there's anyone here doing an undergrad, all you need to do is take some of this advice and start preparing early. And that's going to put you on a good foot. So good recommendations, having a good first degree. And in many occasions, not having a good first degree is also not a total barrier. I don't want that to put you off, because the educational gap that our system in Africa has created causes a lot of problem. And in some cases, it doesn't mean that you are not the smart one. It just means that the system failed you. So you could have the motivation and the passion for research, but then there is no support system in place where you are to bring that zeal out of you. So you need to make sure that you are sure of what you want, you know who you are, and try to work with people in and around that can help bring out that passion in you in a way that you can tell your story. And additional things you can do to bridge that gap is going to be taking courses online. For example, my story is a perfect story. My undergrad was in maths and I was doing a PhD in computing science. I wanted to do a PhD in computing science. I mean, looking at my transcripts, that's a zero, no go area. I don't have any, computing background. Then my master's, maybe a bit of computing, but then it's not also sufficient. So I had to talk to people around me that helped me. Some of them advised me to take courses, and I'm glad I did that. So I took courses on Coursera, loads of courses. There's financial aid available for students. You just need to use your internet, take the attend the classes and do the assignments. So I took all of those courses, and I did not just present my certificate of completion of those courses to the supervisor, to the academic panel, that, oh, this is me, I've done this, you can be confident that I'm a good PhD student. No, I didn't just do that. I solved a lot of problems. I did lots of projects, teeny tiny things that kind of like evidence. It's just like you. Imagine you have 50 million naira and somebody comes to you and say, hi, I want to go study here and I need help and I'm very good and I'm very motivated and you won't regret investing in me. Could you please help me? Imagine you have the money and you're a philanthropist. How would you know who is good from who is not? How would you select them? You need to put something in place, right? Or you need to see evidence that, oh, I'm investing in the right place. This is somebody that if I invest in them, they are definitely going to be a promising student. They are going to, make my money worth it. It's just like that. It's exactly the same. There's no difference. So put yourself in that position and make sure that you try to develop yourself to a point where you have enough evidence to show that you've bridged the gap, you have the skills, you have all the essential things needed to get you started to do a PhD, to get you going, to get you moving. Because like I said, you don't need to know everything before you start a PhD. You just need to have the knowledge, the resilience, the energy, and the essential skills to get you started. So listing all of the things I've said again, making sure you have a genuine reason for why you want to do a PhD, having a good passion for the subject area, and having a strong motivation for research, finding a potential supervisor that you want to work with, and reaching out to them, making sure that you give a good impression, and preparing a research proposal. So you need to work hand in hand with the supervisor on this. You can't do this alone. They know the subject area, they know the literature of the research area you want to work on, and they'll be in a better position to help you. And perhaps some of the students that the supervisor supervising for a PhD in their university. So find a supervisor, prepare your research proposal, and in the process of also finding the supervisor, you are deciding whether you're applying for a PhD with admission or just a PhD. And if it's a case of you applying for a scholarship elsewhere, for many Africans, I think the Commonwealth Scholarship is a good, scholarship to consider. Many students here in the UK, even in Glasgow, are studying on the Commonwealth Scholarship. And I don't know if anyone here is from Nigeria, but I am sure of, PTDF and TED Fund for Nigerian students who wants to do a PhD, because that happens here. But if it's the University of Glasgow, for instance, has a lot of funding, for international students that wants to do a PhD. And some of them I even put on my LinkedIn. You can check it out. And a couple of them will also be open from next year. For example, the UKRI, United Kingdom Research Innovation, they have funding for PhD students, but it used to be for home people before. And now from next year, they are going to be opening it up for international students. And that's a potential funding to look for, to look out for. And for me in Glasgow, I got my funding from University of Glasgow. It was a College of Science and Engineering scholarship, and it's a full funding, but it's a very, 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 very competitive scholarship. And if I had doubted myself in the beginning, I would never have applied. So it was all courage and making sure I am convinced of why I want to do a PhD. I have the skills and just trying. Okay, that's also one thing I have to tell you. You probably not get it on the first try. If you do get it on the first try, then lucky you. I'm happy for you. For me, I have loads of rejections, like lots. I even have a folder on my computer, rejected applications. As I send them out, I get the rejection, I dump it there. It's not a sign that you're not good enough. It's not a sign that you're a failure. It's just probably that maybe they have better applicants, or that you're applying for a project that you don't have the necessary skills for, or maybe something that is not even for you. For example, one of the PhDs I applied for was in Australia. And I didn't write a research proposal because the project was advertised. So the supervisor has a grant and they need PhD students to work with them. And they wanted to hire PhD students. So I looked at the eligibility, good programming skills, check, knowledge of maths, check. I checked a couple of things that I felt I was eligible for. And I thought, this is something I can apply for. But there was a but. The subject area is not really something I was passionate about. It's in quantum computing, and it's not like if I had gotten the PhD, I would have failed. No, I wouldn't. I would do it, but I would maybe struggle a bit. It's not going to be that fun like the PhD I got in the United Kingdom. So I applied anyway because desperate, and I just wanted to get out. I just want to do a PhD. I just want to move on with my career. And I applied. I got selected for the interview. I was shortlisted, and during the interview stage, the supervisor told me, "You have a very strong application, Sophia, and we think you'll be good for this PhD. But we don't. But we worry that your research interest does not really fit into this project. We think you will be better off doing a PhD in the area of algorithms or graph theory." That was what they told me. And I was like, okay, thank you. And after a week, they sent me the email that we are sorry, your application was not successful. And I wasn't surprised. And I'm glad today that they actually rejected my application, because I actually got to apply for something that I really wanted to do. So in some cases, it's not that you are not good enough. It's just that they are helping you make the right decision for yourself. So be prepared for some of these rejections. Be prepared. And sometimes what I even do is, before I hear back from the PhD, from the university, I'm already looking at another option, like just in case. By the time I got my PhD offer in Glasgow, I got another offer from Canada. I had two PhD offers at the same time. It was just amazing. It was good to be in that position because I've always gotten rejections, and finally I got to reject some. So I got to reject one, which was fun. So be prepared. It might not work out. If it doesn't, it's not your fault. Just repackage your application. Maybe even send emails and ask them what you could do to be in a better position. And whatever they tell you, filter the one that works for you. Take the one that filter the one that doesn't work. Take the one that works, and then work on them. Work on yourself. and then find another supervisor and apply to them. And it's a tough journey, and everyone's experience can be different. But I wish you all the very best, as you look for opportunities, and happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Sophia. That sounds quite interesting. And I have a couple of questions here, but the chat section is also open. So if anyone has a question, you can put it at the chat section and then it will be read out. But the first question came in this morning, and then I think it reflects what you said in your background. The person wrote, I have an engineering background, but with interest in coding and in coding. Can my interest, okay, I need to reframe the sentence from the person. He said, I have an engineering background with interest in coding. Can my interest alone get me a PhD since it's not the main course I studied in school? So the person has an engineering background but interested in coding. So there is a mismatch between the interest and the academic background. But can she get a PhD out of this?
No, there is no mismatch. There is no mismatch. Coding is a skill. It's a skill that is needed in so many research areas nowadays. In fact, I would say that the person is in the best position to apply for a PhD. I mean, because I have colleagues here in the university who are doing engineering PhDs. Some of them are in electrical, mechanical, and name it. There is very rarely any engineering nowadays that you would not see them. You will not see them coding. They do simulations, they code up their experiments, they do all sorts of stuff. And I think having that skill, having that passion for programming is going to even help that person, get the position or the PhD application, the PhD scholarship or admission. So it's not a mismatch, don't get me wrong. The person just needs to, coding is a skill, okay? You can't say you want to do a PhD in coding. That's not possible. It's a skill that you need to do the PhD in engineering, okay? It's just like writing, right? If you say you can write, you need to be able to write to do research because you submit papers. For me also, I have, my background is in maths and I am interested in coding. And now I'm doing a PhD in computing science. Not essentially PhD in coding. My PhD is in design of algorithms, but I need to code some of the algorithms I design. And that was some of the things I added to my CV when I submitted, my PhD application. So I think it puts the person on a very, very good position, if that makes sense. The person just needs to find the area of engineering that they want to apply their coding and then take that forward.
All right, thank you. And then the next questions, there are three more here. It says, I always have challenges with getting the attention of a supervisor. What advice will you give?
Okay. Well, that depends, I sometimes see that, students send emails that are maybe watered down, not channeled to the supervisor. Don't get me wrong, you're probably sending a perfect email and you're doing everything right, but it could be that the supervisor is just not interested in taking students. And the best thing would be for the supervisor to reply and say, I'm sorry, I'm not taking PhD student now or something. But some of them don't reply. I've been in that position before. So I think the most important thing is for the students, for the person asking this question to know that if the supervisor is not replying to their email, they should know that it's not their fault, first of all, and they should be thankful, because if a supervisor does not respect, replying emails, then they are probably not a good person to work with. That's one thing. And the second thing would be that, what's the content of the email? How do you reach out to them? What do you say? Do you identify research problems that you can, that you think would interest them? Because very rarely, if a student reach out to, for example, me now, I'm a lecturer and I'm looking forward to maybe supervising PhD students in the future. If somebody email me now with research that aligns with my interest, academics are always looking for research to do. They're always looking for brilliant students, or they're always looking for motivated students. If anyone from anywhere email me right now and say, hi Sophia, I went through your research and this is what I do, I think this is how we can work together, I saw this paper, it's almost impossible not to reply that person. It's almost impossible, because you have put yourself in a good foot. It's like you've brought something nice to the supervisor that they almost can't say no to. So it could be the way that you are reaching out to them. And if you are doing the good job of, typing the email nicely, then it could be the supervisor. So don't beat yourself up over that. Just, maybe go to the next person. Or another advice would be, see if you can reach out to the supervisor's PhD students. So PhD students are also good people to reach out to. See if you can, for example, when I was with my supervisor, quite a few people email me and say, they want to work with David, blah, blah, blah. And I would tell them straight up, see, my supervisor is an amazing person. He replies email even better than me. Just reach out to him. So you can also reach out to people working with that supervisor that knows them, and they will advise you on how best to approach them. So that's also something. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you. And then the third question read, I am a young lady. Are there challenges with combining PhD with building a family? Or I should choose one first?
Hmm. That's an interesting question. I don't think there is any challenge with. Wait. Let me rephrase that. There is always a challenge with doing anything. Okay, doing a PhD alone is really hard. I mean, I'm not married. I wish I was, but I'm not yet. And it's not because I'm doing a PhD that's why I did not decide to, get married. I didn't pause one for the other. The other has just not happened. So I'm probably not in the best position to tell you how hard it is combining a PhD with raising a family. But I can tell you from seeing people around, I mean, I have friends that are married with kids doing a PhD. I've gone to conferences that, I see females breastfeeding their babies at conferences, and conference will give them a special place to do that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with doing a PhD and starting a family. I think it actually makes you a superwoman. I always tell my friends that have kids and families, like, look, I am struggling and I'm single. You are doing this with family and PhD and you are successful. You are a superwoman. You are stronger than I am. And it's true. Because as a single person, I find it difficult and I can't imagine having a family. So my advice to you, if you can do it, you should do it. It could also help if you have a very good partner that shares your values, okay? Because you don't want to have a partner that makes life difficult for you. So there is nothing wrong with running your PhD and having a family. In fact, it just shows that you're an amazing person. Your story is going to be more interesting than mine. It shows that you're stronger than me anyway. Yeah. So I should also add that there are some opportunities available for women that have family and that are running a PhD. So there are some scholarships and fellowships, like for example, the Daphne Jackson Fellowship is specifically for women, family women, that have maybe taken a break from their career to start a family, and they decided to come back to do a PhD, or family women with kids, with family that are doing a PhD. There are so many fellowships and opportunities in place for people like that. I mean, because people have realized that it could be a barrier and they don't want you to run away because of that. They want you to stay. They believe you can do it, and I also believe that you can do it. So don't see it as a deterring factor. Actually, see it as an opportunity to help you even become a superhuman. Yeah.
That's quite interesting, because
Yeah.
this is more or less like a personal one, because when I was applying for one, there is this aspect of always asking about marital status, and they have the division into single, married, divorce, and I got angry filling forms with that, not knowing there is a special bonus for students with
Yeah,
family. And
yeah. In
I
fact, in
did
my university, I wish I had kids. I don't have kids
yeah,
because there is childcare for people that have kids. They pay
yes,
them, I think, £100 every month.
every month.
Every month.
And with
Yeah.
Corona, they
Imagine that's a lot of money. I mean, yeah, you already have your money to take care of your kids, but that's just evidence that they don't take people that have kids for granted. They take care of them. And also there is paternity leave for PhD students. For male, I think it's about 2 weeks. And for female, I think it's about a year or 6 weeks. I can't remember. There is paternity leave for you. And also you can, so for example, for we as staff, we start work 9 to 5 every day. If you have a family and you have childcare, they can cut it down to 10 to 4 for you. So there are so many opportunities in place for people with family that me can't enjoy because I don't have one, and I wish I had. So yeah.
That's unfortunate on our side. So there is this last question here. It says,
Okay.
do I need some publication before I apply for a PhD?
Yeah, I mean,
And
I
then
talked about that in my paper, in my article on LinkedIn as well. Easy answer, you don't have to. I don't have a publication. I did not have a publication before I applied for my PhD. And I got the PhD and the scholarship. So publication puts you in a good position that you've done research and says a lot and probably is going to answer a lot of questions. But if you don't have, you need to show evidence that you can actually do it. You need to show evidence that you have the skills or that you have tried to bridge some gaps. So I don't even need to drag this out too much. The straight answer is no, you don't need to have a publication before you apply for a PhD because I'm an evidence that you don't need to have one. But if if you see an opportunity for you to have a publication, please go for it because I think it's just going to put your application in a stronger position. Yeah.
okay, thank you. So to the participant, I think you can type in your questions or mute yourself if there's no background noise and ask a question. So we have roughly 12 minutes to do that. And I have this question coming from one of our participants. She says, I have a question concerning emailing supervisors. Do you have to prepare concept notes and attach in the email? I don't know whether you get it right.
You have to prepare what?
Concept notes. So she's basically trying to say, do you have to, as part of emailing a professor, do you have to attach a note probably describing your project or research?
I mean, that would be if you have a project, okay? If you have a project. So the process of reaching out to a supervisor could be to help you fine-tune a project. For me, the process of reaching out to my supervisor was to fine-tune a research proposal. I didn't have an idea of a project in mind when I reached out to my supervisor. All I had was, oh, this guy is doing something in graphs and algorithms. He's doing something that uses computing and coding. And these are things that I have the skills and I'm passionate about. All I did was just prepare the email and displayed my skills and my motivation for wanting to do research and highlighting how the skills I have and the skills I want to develop matches the things he's using in his research. So it's like you are helping the person to help yourself. You are using your email to explain how your skills matches what they are looking for. And then I attached my CV. That was all I did. So I didn't even know what research I wanted to do. Trust me. All I did was this person is using graph theory. I know graph theory. This person is in need of somebody that knows programming. I know programming. This person is doing a research where maths is relevant. I'm good at maths. In fact, maths was my first degree. I had a first class in maths. This person is in need of somebody that can prove theorems. I can prove theorems. So this person is in need of somebody that can package code, do software engineering, do all this. I can do that. I just highlighted those points in my email. Like, I'm good at this, I'm good at this. And I think all of these are relevant for a PhD. Attached is my CV. In fact, I also mentioned the fact that I did maths and I don't have any string of computing in my transcript so that they will not think that I'm the best candidate. I mentioned some of my limitations and I also added the things that I am doing to bridge that gap immediately in that email. I'm taking online courses. Based on that, I was able to do this project. Based on that, I was able to do this, do that. I highlighted them, added to my CV, and I said, I just want to do a PhD in an area where all of these skills that I am good at is relevant. Sometimes you don't know, the supervisor will be the best person to guide you. So I just poured my heart out there. I was not fishing or anything. I was sure of what I wanted. I was sure of what I'm good at. And that was what I wrote in the email. if this is this, if your research, matches this, I know it matches, I've read it already, I've stalked the supervisor. So this is who I am, these are the skills I'm good at. I'm just looking to do a research where I can apply and learn more, build on the skills. And then the supervisor replied the same day. I was surprised. That was the first person I have emailed that replied immediately. So don't feel bad if you don't get the same response. It's not you, it could be the person. And the supervisor replied the same day and asked me to send my master thesis, asked me to send a couple of things, which I did. And then they went through it, and then they were like, oh yeah, what you did here actually matches what we are doing here, and we think you'll be a good candidate, and you need to prepare a research proposal. But first, we should have a meeting to discuss some of the open problems that you want to include in your research proposal, and to also see, to discuss how you fit into the whole. And then we said schedule the meeting. Before the meeting, I did more reading, more reading. I gathered problems, even problems I didn't know what they were, just to not sound stupid, and to show the supervisor I've done my assignment. And yeah, we had a meeting, and funny enough, he wasn't even expecting me to say anything significant on the research problems. He was just trying to help me, guide me. He mentioned lots of papers that I should go look at, areas I should consider, the skills I want to develop for the PhD myself. And he asked me more about why I want to do PhD. I answered him, I don't know, body language and all. They are watching you, they are checking to see if you're actually, in it, or you are just fishing around. And yeah, at the end of the call, he said he would be happy to supervise me, prepare my research proposal, send me more papers, and then that was how we started. So it's, yeah,
Okay.
you don't have to essentially write anything attached. If you're able to, don't get me wrong, good. But if you can't, I think the basic minimum, the minimum that you can do that is required, that I did too, is just to make sure that you have the skills, the passion, and the motivation highlighted, and you have the evidence in your email to them. And
Okay.
yeah.
That sounds quite good. I think we are all learning something valuable. So this question reads, give us tips on looking for the right supervisor. How do you do the research? Do you only look for those looking for a candidate, as in the supervisors, you chase those who are already looking for candidate, or what are the tips you can give?
So, looking for a supervisor is all about looking for somebody whose research aligns with yours. So that's the first thing. You have to make sure that your research interests fit. And on many occasions, PhD supervisors will put on their website, they don't always have openings. That's what you should know. It's not all research supervisors that have grants or projects that, okay, so I have this grant on this project, and I'm looking for a PhD student for this project, and then you apply to work with me. It's not all of them. But on many occasions, they will put on their websites that if you're interested in doing a PhD with me, please reach out. So you mostly see that. And you can always email them and get your feedback from them. But another thing is a good way to also try to find supervisor, because it can be a bit hard. For me, I was talking to someone, right? Let me share my story. So I was talking to somebody who was from Glasgow. I finished from AIMS Ghana, and AIMS brings people from outside Africa to teach. So I was talking to one of the lecturers who was from Glasgow about what I did during my master thesis and my interest and my passion. Okay, I was talking to someone, and the person, so during the talk, I was like, oh, so I did my master thesis was on graph theory. I did something about bipartite graphs. I did something on matchings in graph. I did this, I did that. And just by saying I did something on matchings in graph, the guy already knew me and said, oh wait, I have a friend in Glasgow who is also doing something on matchings. I think this would be a good fit. And then the person introduced me to the supervisor, and that was how I reached out to the supervisor. In fact, the person just gave me the supervisor's email and name, and then I went on the supervisor's website and I saw all the things they were doing, and I thought, wow, this is the kind of person I want to work with. And I saw their website said, if you're interested in doing a PhD with me, please send me an email, and I did that. So it can be very, very difficult just looking for a supervisor in a pool of thousands of supervisors for a research. It can be very hard, trust me. One way to do this would be to try and find people working in that area of research. Maybe friends. For example, recently I had somebody reach out to me. I run an initiative in Africa. I teach people how to code. We travel to Africa every year. And one of the students in one of my previous workshops, I know the kind of skills he have and the things he would love to do. He's interested in health informatics, machine learning for health informatics. And I follow him on social media. I see some of the things he tweets. I see the courses he takes. I see his motivation for that area. So when opportunity opened up in my school with someone doing, with somebody in the field of health informatics, guess who I reached out to? Him. So you need to make sure that your network, you surround yourself with people that can help you when the time comes, socially, physically. Who do you follow? These are the people that will help you, connect you to supervisors. In fact, word of mouth is even nicer than you just reaching out to them on the whim, because that's high chance that they won't respond to you. So I think my advice would be, follow people on social media, follow people that can help you, follow people that share the same interest as yours. Try to build a good relationship with them. Put the stuff that you are doing out there in terms of courses and in terms of projects that you're doing. Trust me, the right people are watching. And when the right time comes, they'll reach out to you. And when you need help, you can always reach out to them. And you don't need to advertise what you're doing already, because it's all there. So use social media for your own good. Do not let social media use you. That's another advice. Use it for your own good. So I just emailed the guy. No, I emailed the lecturer first and said, "Hi, Fanny. I know you're working in health informatics and machine learning and statistics. I have a student in Africa who I think is really good in this area, and whom I think, if he doesn't even get a PhD with you this year, you can potentially work together and collaborate with and do research." And that's good for the person, because imagine being in Africa and you're already collaborating with somebody outside Africa. You will start building your research portfolio. And when opportunity opens up with that lecturer, they will of course think of you first. So that's how it works. And she said, "Oh yeah, tell the student to reach out to me." And then I told that guy, like, "I've been following your story. I see this, you are doing this, you are doing that. I have somebody in my university that I think two of you would be good fits because your interest aligns." And I connected them, and they've started discussions. And that's how it works. So as hard as reaching out to a supervisor out of the wing, some people get to do that and it works for them, but it's quite hard. My best advice for you would be to build your network of people that that can surely help you, people that are out there, people that are doing research in that area, and then start building a relationship with them. And the relationship with them is not by saying how are you to them every morning, or what did you eat today. No, they'll probably block you. It's by showing what you are doing to build yourself, and then reaching out to them to help you become better, essentially. Don't dump your problem on them. Everybody is busy. Do the hard work, and then when you have encountered a problem, try to reach out to these people. Let them see you for who you are. And then when the right opportunity presents itself, trust me, you don't even have to sell. You've sold. It's like selling yourself before the job even, before the job opening. Yeah, your job every day to find a supervisor is to spend every day from now, from today, spend every day building yourself towards becoming a good candidate. Yeah, by doing the work, by taking the courses, by writing that code, by putting stuff that you do out there, by surrounding yourself with people that can help. Yeah.
Okay, I think the final wrap for the day will be this question, and the person says, "I'm preparing for a PhD interview in some few days to come. Any possible advice to any possible advice to give me?" Yeah.
Okay, that's brilliant. I mean, you've done the hard job to getting the PhD interview. My question would be, the interview, who is it with? Is it the first stage of interview? Is it with the supervisor? Is it with the selection panel? There are lots of PhD interview stages. Do you know? Do you have any idea?
I should think it's the first interview with the supervisors. Yeah.
If it's the first interview with the supervisor, well, I'm sure I've answered this question, because I talked about the things I did when I had my first interview with my supervisor as well. So what you want to do is stalk the supervisor, know their research in and out, and know what they are doing, and match what you want to do with what they are doing. Okay, your story wants to always be, I see on your website or on your research portfolio you did something around this. I have a skill in this area that I think would match that. Okay, you always want to match your own skills that you have to the supervisor's area of research, and that's one of the most important thing. And also, make sure that you highlight, do not water it down, do not make yourself small in front of the supervisor. Be confident. Okay, sometimes you don't even know everything, but your confidence, show a lot. It's your aura. If I used to tell people that if you are not confident, if you don't believe in yourself, why should I believe in you? It starts with you, right? You need to be confident. You need to sell your motivation for what you want to do. Okay, if you are not really sure, then that's where the problem will be. But if you are so sure of why you actually want to do a PhD and how you are the best fit and how you're motivated and passionate, just sell that. That's what you need to sell. Sell your passion, sell your motivation, and make sure that you highlight how your skills matches the supervisor's area of research and the things that you wish to learn while working with them as a PhD student. So that would almost get you, to the next step. Trust me. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think this has been helpful, and then we've primarily exhausted our time. And with your permission, I could share your LinkedIn um,
Yeah. I mean,
on the chat so that people
publicly
can follow.
available
Yes,
anyway. Sure.
you can follow you. And then we are so happy to have you. Hopefully, sometime to come, we'll get you on board to share more tips with us. And then we're looking forward to more people getting into various PhD programs, and not only that, any other area they find too
No
much of a
problem.
passion to be in.
No
So
problem.
yeah, I thank you
Happy
for
to
that.
help. Just make sure your question is streamlined, because I get loads of emails on LinkedIn every day, loads of messages, and I attempt to reply. I mean, I replied you, right, Sapon?
Yes.
I attempt to reply everyone as long as I'm sure that you're asking a genuine question and not just looking for, just disturbing. There are so many spams on LinkedIn. So make sure you channel your message right and streamlined, and I'll definitely reach out. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and
You're
for
welcome.
your time. All
Thanks
right.
for having me and thanks for your time as well. It's been a pleasure.